All right. I need to change my countdown timer because I don't think I can wait that long when I have a great idea that I want to talk about. Like today, I am going to talk about the value of being different on this new podcast episode. I am so excited to share this. I've been thinking about this for a while because I think when we think about branding and we think about business and we think about the tendencies of industries, we tend to fall in line with what has been done. You know, the age old sentence of death is always the way we've done it before. That has become more problematic in business, especially nowadays, because we shouldn't just always do it like before. And I started thinking, of course, me thinking about music is always a constant. And I'm starting to think about what do the best bands in the history of music have in common? They did something different. Now, I'm not saying that they completely broke from everything because every musician, every artist, every band will say that they have some sort of an influence or some sort of a previous artist or a previous musician that they listened to growing up that they were influenced by, or there are other elements that they're influenced by during their creative process. Now, I think that's important. I think we all know, none of us come up with, we don't come into this with all original ideas. We're borrowing and we're mixing and we're changing things up a little bit. But I think when it comes to our brand and when it comes to different strategies within industries, it's easy to do the common thing, or it's easy to fall in line with the opinion of someone who is influential in the industry because they did it a certain way, and that tends to, in their mind, becomes the gospel of how you should do it moving forward. And I think there are so many times, especially when you think about like coaches and speakers and entrepreneurs and things like that, that are just like, oh, here's my fly by night thing that you should do because I did it and it's going to work for you. Now, if you think about some of the best musicians and bands in history, and I would love to hear your comments on who you think those are. I've got my own that I want to talk about. So don't rain down hate on me because I didn't leave or I left somebody out of the mix. But when I think about band or musicians like Prince, to me, Stevie Wonder, Michael Jackson, Metallica, I think about groups like Basement Jaxx, Beck. You know, these artists that came in and did something so different, still with the influences that were brought along, but they could have fallen in line with what everybody else was doing. They could have fallen in line with everything that had come before them. But they took what was previous, what was historical, what was known to them, and then they did something completely different with it. And so when I think about personal brand, and especially in the noise that's in the industries nowadays, everybody is something, fill in the blank. How do you set yourself apart? And it doesn't you don't have to do something revolutionary. I mean, by all means, go for it. But what are you doing just a little bit different than the other person? What are you doing to set yourself apart? What are you doing to make your brand unique or make your personality unique or make your business offering unique? What is that little bit of something that you should be doing differently? And you see it, and I'm obviously very close proximity to the events industry, the speaking industry, and you see people doing things differently in doses, which I think is fantastic. From an events standpoint, I mean, you got events like Money 2020. I think about people like Liz Lathan that they just do things, they look at it in a different way. And then when you think about speakers and influencers and all of these different people, it really depends on how you're going about it and what you want to be known for. Do you want to be just another face that does the same thing and says the same thing, and you're just a different face and voice saying the same thing that somebody else did? Or do you want to take what you've learned from them, maybe marinate on it for a little bit, and then think of what your unique angle is? And I talk about this all the time when I'm coaching people on public speaking, is that, the first question is, well, why should I go talk on this topic? Why, there are a million people that talk about leadership. There are a million people that talk about emotional intelligence or diversity or whatever that is. But there is a uniqueness to each and every one of us. And it pains me, and I'm full disclosure, I'm not going to say that I've never fallen in line like I'm about to kind of go against here, because I have. And it's caused me way too much stress because I feel, it was when I was creating music and when I was creating my keynotes and my speaking stuff, like I got so caught up in like, what is this person doing? And what they're really successful. I just need to go duplicate their blueprint and follow that path, and then everything will work out just fine for me. And it started driving me nuts. because it wasn't me. It wasn't my voice. I felt inauthentic. I felt partially muted in a way because I wasn't living my truth. I wasn't sharing my perspective. I wasn't being authentic. I wasn't being vulnerable as I should be, and I am. I was trying to follow that path. So go back to those bands. Go back to the Metallicas and the Basement Jacksons and the Michael Jacksons and the Princes of the world, the Madonnas. All these people, I'm sure at some point in their career considered that. Or maybe they started off that way and they had minimal success. But each of those individuals and bands and groups, there is a very driven, unique perspective and voice that they all have. And they exercised it. And the trick here is that not everybody liked it. Not everybody liked this individuality. Not everybody liked this new style of things. And I put Pink in that category too. Like individuals that take those things and do something different, we're so used to habit. We're so used to like, oh, this is just another great hit that sounds like everything else, but it's just somebody else's voice. But when somebody completely comes into the industry and does something different, it's shocking in a sense. It takes people back because they're used to the predictable. They're used to the common. They're used to the things that just happen consistently. And is that the right thing? Maybe, I don't think so though. So what I encourage you all to do is I want you, whatever industry you're in, whatever business you're in, whatever role you play, you have the ability to do something different. You have the ability to express yourself in a different way that is not common or not completely aligned with what's come before you. And I encourage you to do that. Experiment with it. And I don't care if it's just a little thing or maybe something you do different on social or do different on Instagram or you do it different on your website or you do different in your keynotes or whatever your medium is. Try something different. Be bold with it because what you will find is that when you sit in that thought of like, what is different? Like I was thinking about my content and kind of the historical evolution of my content as a speaker. When I started adding in the music and the DJing, that was different and it's fun. But it was a break from the norm. Not, there are, respect to my friend Clint Pulver, he plays drums on stage. He does a phenomenal job of that. There are people that do things a little bit differently. And I think that's fantastic. And I think in a sense, there is a different level of joy because if you're just replicating what's happened, you're just a photocopy. I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but it's just not enough to set you apart and bring you the joy that you deserve in whatever you're doing. Because, and I'm running a whole bunch of thoughts together because I'm so passionate about this topic. But we work so hard as I don't care what industry you're in. I don't care what job you have. Entrepreneurs, we work our asses off. And so if we're going to work our asses off in these things, why would you want to do something that is completely somebody else's playbook and somebody else's methodology and somebody else's voice and opinions and thoughts, and you're just repeating them? You just become an echo chamber of these thoughts. But if you're going to spend the time, you're going to spend the effort, and you're going to put the sweat equity into building a business or building a brand or building a voice or building a community, whatever you're out to do it in a way that you love what you're doing. You love what you're saying. And this will go through evolutions. Because if you think about, I take Prince, for example. If you go through Prince's complete discography, like there's change there. There's a lot of different left turns, right turns. I think back to when he wrote the Batman soundtrack with Jack Nicholson and Michael Keaton, like the original Batman movie. He wrote that entire score. It was insane good, but it was so different than what he had done before. And so it was shocking. I was like, oh, geez, this is Prince? This is phenomenal. And it was electronic and it was dancey and it was very different than what he had done in like 1999 and Purple Rain and and all these different albums have a different feel to them. And so I encourage you, one, to sit in that unique thought. What is your unique perspective? What is your unique view? What is your experience that is different than somebody else's? If you're a speaker, how do you talk differently? There's not one like I think that, and I will soapbox this for a second. So give me a little bit of grace here. It drives me nuts that people say this is the only way that you will be able to be a successful speaker is speaking like this. Go watch like 10 of the most popular keynote speakers out there. They're all different. A Mel Robbins is definitely different than a Jesse Itzler, is definitely different than a Laura Gassner Auding, is different than, take your pick. These individuals are all very unique. And so if you want to be the best, if you want to be great in your industry, if you want to make an impact, if you want to stand out from the crowd, has nothing to do with algorithms. It has nothing to do with hashtags. It has everything to do with what you're saying, what you're doing, what you're sharing, what you believe, what you feel, and what you're doing to convey that to other people. And that in of itself should bring more joy to what you're doing. Because being in a repetitious cycle is exhausting. And it's going to take it out of you to be authentic. It's going to take it out of you to be brave. It's going to take something out of you from an energy standpoint to really dive deep and figure out, okay, how am I different? What am I doing differently? What am I saying differently? How is my perspective coming off differently than everybody else in my market? That's bravery. And I applaud you for it. And I'm here for it. And I'm here to support anybody who goes down this path, because I'm in the process of doing it myself. Like I have, this is like whatever's on the horizon is my new album, is my Batman soundtrack, because I want to do something unique. I want to do something completely different than anybody else is doing. And I want it to come off in a way that people are like, ooh, okay, all right, what is this? Like something completely different. And I dipped my toe in it at the Central Exchange event when I did my DJ keynote, and we had glow sticks, and I had a walk-in video, like not even a walk-up song or a bio, because I hate my bio. But my new bio is fantastic, by the way. But this walk-up video was different for me, and it was a different energy, and it was a different feel. And I will say, in true vulnerability, for the people that it hit with, they loved it. And like I mentioned earlier, not everybody did. And that's fine too. Because for every 5-star review that I got, every 4-star review, even the 3 stars that were just very complimentary, that made my heart very happy. But I was already happy with what I had just done. I was already really happy with what I had just conveyed to the audience. So that was just additional boost. That was like, I love this album. I've put it out. Now these people are buying it and they're supporting it. I love that. And yes, when you put yourself out there, somebody's not going to like it. And you've got to brace yourself for it. And at first, for like 5 seconds, I was so upset with the 1 stars. I was so upset with the 2 stars. I was offended by them for 5 seconds. And I thought, there's no way in hell I'm letting these people bring me down off of what I am so proud to have worked so hard on and put myself out there in a way that was totally different than I had ever done before. I wasn't going to let it touch me. And I haven't looked at them since, because what good is it going to do me? Yes, I'll take constructive criticism all day long. I can always get better. I'm always going to try to get better. But I'm telling you this, like when you step into that, there's a like that roller coaster heart palpitation feeling. There's that fear that comes about. And when you hit the top of that hill and you hear that click, 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 and you're about to go nose deep over that first hill, that's where the fun begins. But if you're on the kiddie roller coaster and it's just going around in circles, that may be what you're doing right now. You're not going to get the same kind of joy out of that. It's not going to be the same kind of ride. Yeah, the first roller coaster is terrifying, but it's also so much fun. And that should be the way you handle your content. That should be the way you handle your voice. You should do something totally different than what you've been doing. And we all can reimagine what we're doing. We can all invest in a new angle on things. And we should. And we should change it up a little bit. We should try something new. We should experiment a little bit. And if you don't want to experiment to the masses, experiment to a small group. But be authentic with it. Go all in. Because you may not have those opportunities. You may have the best idea in the world and you're terrified to share it. You're terrified to share your vulnerable, honest perspective. And somebody may need to hear that. But if you hold it back and you're not authentic, you're not going to buy into that. You're not going to share that thing that needs to be heard. You're going to be playing it safe. You're going to be playing it off of somebody else's playbook. And we've already heard that. We don't need to hear that again. We want to hear what you have to say. That's what's important. So I encourage you today, tonight, sit and look at what you're doing with work, with your business, with your content. Find where there are things working, but then ask some questions. Why? Why not? Ask those questions on how you can do things a little bit differently and explore those without hesitation, without fear, without any kind of concern of being rejected. And figure out what that is and do that thing. Say that thing. Try that thing. Either to the masses and just be bold, or to a small group and do some test experimenting. But I think I'm so heartbroken over the people that need to be sharing their authentic version of themselves, that they need to be sharing the voice that needs to be heard. And they're so worried because some expert told them that this is the path that they should follow because everybody else should follow this because this is what's going to work. When in actuality, it's just their path. And if you don't find success in their path, don't be shocked because it's theirs, not yours. And that's why, again, like when I coach people on public speaking, I don't want them to do what I did. I don't want them to say what I've said. I'll share what works, but I also want to make sure that everything is custom to them and custom to what they need to hear and how they need to say things. I'm not going to sit there and say every single person should come out and present the same way. That would be doing a disservice to every single person that has entrusted in me to encourage them to be the best version of them that they could possibly be. But I'm encouraging you right now. This is your free lesson, your free training lesson. Go find that authentic version of you. Go find that thing that makes you different. Go find that perspective that you haven't heard anybody else say, and go say it. Go do it. If you've been wanting to experiment with something, go do it now. Because it could be that secret that just blows things wide open for you. And those ideas that come about, the unique perspective that comes about, could just blow the doors wide open. I'm telling you right now, there are two things, and I can't talk about them yet. There are two things that are about to happen that have happened because of this unique perspective and this belief in myself that I've exhibited. And I'm the first to tell you that is not historically who I have been. But I've been trying it more and more. I've been dipping my toe into doing stuff differently. I've been dipping my toe into saying, I'm authentically me, and take it or leave it. I really don't care. Because the people that take it are going to love it. And the people that leave it, that's fine. I want them to go find something that makes them happy. And if it's not me, don't waste your time on me. I don't care. I want you to be happy. So I'm speaking from experience, both on the side of playing it safe, but also on the side of not playing it safe and being authentic. Playing it safe is okay, but being authentic and trying some stuff, doing something different, finding that unique voice, that is worth every ounce of effort you will put into it. Every bit of it. And if you fail, I'd rather fall on my face on fire because I did exactly what I thought was right. And I would rather be wrong and convicted than be right and being somebody else's voice, just a different accent, just a different tone, just a different face, just a different background. I don't want to do that anymore. And I don't want you to either. I want you to find what makes you happy. I want you to find what voice you need to put out in the world because we need to hear it. So, end scene. But this today kicks off a new era, kicks off a new album. I am in the studio, as it were, working on some new stuff. And man, I can't wait. I can't wait for y'all to see what's coming. But at the same time, sincerely from the bottom of my heart, I want you to feel what I have been feeling lately because it is so much fun. It's so much fun. And it doesn't drive you crazy because you're trying too hard to be somebody else. So enough there. Thank you so much for tuning in on LinkedIn, on Instagram, YouTube. Thank you all. This is going on the podcast. Make sure you follow the podcast. If you have any questions or any thoughts around this topic, or if you have other topics you want me to talk about, I see Jennifer, I see you. I'm seeing the comments pop up here now too. So thank you all so much for tuning in. I appreciate each and every one of you that has influenced me, that has helped me, that has supported me. Y'all, it's about to get just insane, and I'm here for it, and I'm thrilled that y'all are here with me for it. But I want it for you so badly. So please make sure you hit richbracken.com, sign up for the newsletter. The podcast is growing. I have a new episode coming this week with one of my favorite people that is she did something totally different too. And I can't wait to share her story this week. So please subscribe to the podcast, Enrich Your Soul Podcast, wherever you have your podcast preferences. Man, it's about to get real. It's about to get fun. It's about to go to a whole different level. And I want that for you. So today is the day that you change that you go to the studio and you start recording your new album for release. And best bet, I'm going to be in the front row of your first concert of the next tour. So thank you all so much for being here. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for sharing this podcast with as many people as you possibly can, because you never know who's going to need a little bit of enrichment and a new album. Take care. We'll see you next time.